Hey guys, it's your girl Maddie and welcome back to The Mindset.
Girl, you do you, baby, live it up.
In today's video, we're going to be talking about the new movie that just came out on Netflix on February 5th, starring Zendaya as Marie and John David Washington as Malcolm. The movie is Malcolm and Marie. Listen, this movie came out 3 days ago and I saw the movie twice in one day. I love this movie. I might go back and see it a third time. I just might. Now, I'm going to give y'all a little rundown as to what the movie is about, and then I'm going to get into my review. And before I get into anything, I'm going to say that I'm probably going to be using spoilers, so if you haven't seen it yet and don't want spoilers, you may want to exit off of this now. But go ahead and watch my other videos. If you're not going to watch this one, watch some of the other ones. Like, comment, subscribe. I make all types of videos. I'm getting more and more consistent gradually. But anyway, so now that we got that part out of the way, basically Malcolm and Marie is about Malcolm and Marie. So they are a couple, but don't get it twisted. This is not a love story. This is a story about love. So basically Malcolm is a film director or a filmmaker or whatever, and he just made his first big break. And one of the characters that he made that garnered him a lot of that success was a character by the name of Imani, which is basically a portrayal of his girlfriend Marie. And he thanked everybody under the sun in his speech, but not her. And you don't see the whole part about them going to the premiere ceremony or anything. You just hear their narration of how they talk about the interaction. And the whole movie is shot in black and white from their home. And it was just so good. Now, I don't know why it was filmed in black and white. I don't know like the significance between that is. I would assume maybe it's because the focus wasn't on where they are. The focus isn't on what they look like. The focus is on their dynamic and what they're saying to each other. And that, oh my gosh, it tears at your heartstrings. Or at least it did for mine, because I found the movie to be very relatable. That I could relate to Malcolm, I could relate to Marie, and I could relate to the relationship dynamic as a whole. Not to that capacity of toxicness, but I could definitely relate to it. Basically, Malcolm is incredibly emotionally obtuse and oblivious to how Marie is feeling and why she may be feeling like that. He turns on his music, he starts drinking and dancing, having a good old time. He's going on all these different tangents. He went on a decent amount of tirades about how his films are going to be portrayed as a black man by white media and how they're going to be political off rip just because he's a black man, and they're going to politicize it even if it wasn't supposed to be political in nature. And he talked a lot about just how media is in general and how like film and that whole industry is and all the flaws within that. And so when he was going on all these tirades, my question was, who is this for? Like, I get it. Malcolm is a film director, he's in the industry, he's a passionate man by nature, so of course he's going to have a lot of passions in regards to what he likes, what he doesn't like, and all those things. But there's also an editor to this. There's also a director who directed this by the name of Sam Levinson. So my question is, who was that for? Your daily audience member, like, we got it the first minute of his tirade, but he went on for a couple minutes about a whole tirade about a whole lot of I feel like Mr. Man was being messy. That's just my personal take on it. But aside from that, I thought it was all super good. And I think even within those tirades, it showed Malcolm's character and how big and grandiose he is as a person and his personality, and have very elevated moods and goes very above and beyond. Like, he couldn't just do a quick little tirade. It had to be a 5-minute tirade, multiple of them. He can't just say he did good. He had to over-explain everything. And I gotta be honest, I'm that same way too. I saw a lot of myself in Malcolm, good qualities and bad qualities. There was a lot of that film that I could relate to, and I'm not even 20. So I was just like, damn, like, do I need to check myself? Because Malcolm had some very narcissistic tendencies and I guess not so good qualities. And you could see that with how he interacted with Marie. The movie in and of itself is very just emotionally draining and emotionally exhausting, and I feel like Zendaya, aka Marie, did a very good job at portraying that. If you just look into her face, you can just see how drained she looks through a lot of it. And most of the times where he's going on and 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 on. Marie is 100% just stone-faced, just minding her business, smoking her cigarette, literally just waiting for him to be done. And it was a few times that it damn near looked like she was dissociating, and I was like, baby girl, me too. This movie was just so relatable. Honestly, and I know astrology was nowhere mentioned in this movie, but I honestly just can't help but wonder what their zodiac signs would have been. I'm sensing a lot of maybe fire and air signs. I don't think I see any water signs with either of those characters at most. At most, Malcolm might be a Scorpio, but I don't see Marie being a Pisces. I'm a Pisces. I don't see a whole lot in that. For any of the astrology people out there, comment down below what kind of zodiac you think their relationship pairing is. So with Malcolm and Marie, like I said before, and like they even mentioned off rip in the movie, that this is not a love story, it's a story of love. And I think that's very important because a lot of times when we see a movie with couples, we see this whole, love story, it's a fairy tale, yada, 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 but that's not always realistic for every relationship, and that's not always very realistic for the entirety of a relationship. You will go through ups and downs. So with Malcolm and Marie, I don't know if this is the downfall of their relationship or if this is just a bad phase of their relationship. It seemed like it low-key could have went either way, but ultimately, I don't even know. Like, Malcolm was a piece of work. Malcolm was just so invested in himself that he didn't even take the time to consider Marie. And it was evident throughout this movie that this is not a one-off incident. This is a culmination of a lot of things. And basically, Marie was trying to articulate that to Malcolm. You sat here and portrayed a 20-year-old drug addict who had all these deep, dark aspects of herself, and you portrayed that in a movie, and then have the audacity to say that that character is not fully me. I'm a 20-year-old drug addict who yada 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 is what she was saying. Or she was a 20-year-old drug addict when they met, and she basically felt like, how could you be with me and see me in my all, in my rawness, and then take that essence of me, put that into a film, and you don't thank me, you don't cast me, none of that registers to you, and you think that's okay?
What's not clicking? What's not clicking?
My question was, why are these questions coming out after the premiere? Like, y'all are together, y'all live together, so the assumption is you knew about every step of the process, so why didn't you articulate that? So why did this bottle up until now? After the premiere, you see how it plays out, and now there's this big issue. Why didn't you say it beforehand? That was definitely a question I had while watching the movie the first time around. But after watching it the second go around, I was like, you know what? Maybe they did have that conversation, or maybe she was afraid to. And clearly, since he fumbled the bag in this moment, I'm sure he let her down plenty of times. And these are other attributes of a toxic relationship. Feeling like, one, you can't articulate your issues with your partner because they're not going to take you seriously. Makes her question her sense of reality by telling her you're being irrational, you're mentally unstable, this, that, and the third. Completely gaslighting her once again, which is already problematic enough because she was a drug addict, she was suicidal, she did have mental issues. So why does he keep mentioning, oh, you're psychotic, you're a psychopath, you're mentally unstable, you're this, that, and the third? If you know someone already has some kind of mental issue, talking about mental illness and using such words in that context furthers the stigma. Let me go on a side tangent real quick, all bullshit aside, all commentary aside about the movie. If you're in a toxic relationship, you really truly may want to reconsider that, set some ground rules, set some boundaries. You are deserving of love. You shouldn't have to be physically abused, verbally abused, mentally abused, sexually abused. Any form of abuse in a relationship should not be something that you have to adhere to as your new sense of normal with them. There is no circumstance in which a person should make you feel like you are unworthy of love. Anyway, back to the video. Literally everything that she said, he negated it, he gaslighted it, he patronized her, he minimized every aspect of herself and made her feel like she had to question her reality. Didn't comfort her, didn't make her feel loved, didn't make her feel better. You can say I love you, you can say I'm sorry, you can say I care about you. But he still wasn't hearing her, and that was the ultimate problem. He kept talking about her mental state like, oh, you're psychotic, you're mental, you're mentally unstable, you're being irrational. It's like, no, fool, I'm not being irrational, I'm not being over dramatic. You're causing this because you're gaslighting me. We have to keep coming to this because you weren't listening off the get-go. And you could tell Marie was not trying to have an argument. She was pissed off the whole time, but she made her man his mac and cheese. She tried to go use the bathroom. She tried to go take a bath. She tried so many times to separate herself from the situation and said, I don't want to argue, and this will be a big argument. And he was not having it. He ate that mac and cheese that she made him and had the audacity to talk about her. And she mentioned that, and she was like, do you know how disturbing it is that you can compartmentalize to such a degree that you can abuse me while eating mac and cheese? Basically what she was trying to say was, do you see that even in me being upset, I'm still doing stuff for you? Every effort, each and every single effort that Miss Marie tried, he negated it and he was missing the point entirely. It was exhausting for me to watch, as I'm positive it was exhausting for her, especially since they alluded to them being together for 5 years. And she said to him, like, this is the best and worst qualities of you and it's not gonna change. Like, you really can't fix a person. And it seemed like it was in that realization that she realized this will be the entirety of our relationship. This is how it is. The ups and downs, the goods, the bads. This is the best that you're gonna get. This is all that I'm gonna get out of you. And I was just like, damn. And poor Marie, like, honestly, there were so many times where she literally just begged him not to hurt her feelings. Malcolm is just incredibly verbally abusive to Marie, and I felt offended watching their discourse together. Like, when she was in that bathtub, being naked and vulnerable, trying to mind her damn business. And time again, he just kept antagonizing her. He verbally beat the shit out of her. Looked her in the eye, broke her down, talked about how he's been with a lot of messed up people and so many messed up women, and she takes the cake and she likes to be based and degraded and everything. And oh my God, man, look. Let a dude say that to me. Those will be the last words he ever says. I will write those words on his epitaph when I go to court and they ask, why did you kill him? That's why I killed him. Those words right there, those are fighting words. Those are abusive words. You don't just say that shit to someone you claim to love and act like you can just come out of that. There were a lot of moments in the movie, period, where they were just abusing each other. And you could tell that that is a toxic relationship. Or at the very least, that is a toxic moment. And it seemed to me like that wasn't the first time they've had discussions like that. That's not the first time they've talked to each other like that. And Malcolm made a point to mention it plenty of times as to how she was just some broke down, worn down, empty soul that he fixed and patched up by himself, and she was suicidal and she's mentally unstable. He brought up the deepest, worst parts of herself and made sure to throw that in her face plenty of times. She did not go nearly as deep as he did, ever. At no point did she take a low blow as low as he took. And something else that I thought was interesting in the movie is that at no point did Marie really initiate any intimacy. Anytime he was kissing on her, touching on her, being sexual, she didn't really initiate any of it. She accepted it and kind of just took it, but it didn't seem like she was enthusiastic about any of the sweet moments that they had, because ultimately she was still upset, and rightfully so. I mean, I feel like many people have been in situations where, you know, despite how you're feeling, you kind of just try to go through the motions and you try to make light of it and try to ignore it and push it down. But it was a whole roller coaster of a movie, because, you know, while there are a few like the sweet moments and they're loving on each other and stuff, and those were present and those were nice, they didn't last long before they shot back up into another argument, into another big explosive feud, because the situation was never even resolved. All she wanted was a thank you. All she wanted was recognition, and not just for the movie, because even though she said that she saw a lot of herself in that movie was based off of her, they both mutually agreed, and he also explained that the character Imani was not even solely based off of Marie. It was an amalgamation of plenty of people that he has had experiences with over the years, and that he basically started making the draft of Imani before they had even got together, but after they got together, that kind of solidified it essentially. So it's not even that she so much demanded a thank you for being the sole inspiration for the character, because they both acknowledged that wasn't solely the case, but she wanted to thank you for a culmination of everything that they've been through in the last few years. A thank you for her loving him and being with him and accepting him despite all of his flaws and despite all of his projections that he places onto her, and how she handles their dynamic, because it was a lot on both ends. Both Malcolm and Marie seem to have a big codependence on each other, and Malcolm feeling like he needs to need somebody, and Marie feeling like she needs to be needed and he needs to need her, or else they can't do anything without each other. And he kind of feels like he can do whatever he wants, say whatever he wants, because he fixed the damaged person. Meanwhile, obviously, she was a damaged person who needed fixing and had never been loved the way that Malcolm had loved her, but it was a very convoluted sense of love that they both had for each other, and that's not right for a relationship. They're very codependent and toxic towards each other, whether that's the entirety of their relationship or phase that they're going through. Another thing that I thought was really good about the movie was how spot on the soundtrack was. First off, the songs, period, were all good in the soundtrack, and they were all perfectly timed to the scenes, and there was definitely an intentional move, it seemed like, for the soundtrack to be picked the way that it was picked and played in the sequence in which that it was played and the way that the dynamics of that scene when the songs came on played out, I think was great. It was awesome. And with Marie, it was just, I could feel her pain. Marie just wanted to be thanked and recognized for all that she does and all that she is and how she is with him. As difficult as it seems like it probably is to be with him. And it was hurtful to her because in the grandest moment, he couldn't even thank her. You know, a simple I'm sorry isn't gonna do it, because the moment where that gratitude mattered most, he didn't do it, he didn't fulfill it. A sorry isn't gonna cut it, and I love you isn't gonna cut it, but a thank you will. And I think that finally showed once at the very end of the movie came when he said, I love you, and she didn't say anything. But then he said, thank you, and she finally said, you're welcome. There were so many times where Marie left the scene and Malcolm was going frantic. Every time she left to go to the bathroom, take a smoke, to walk, to whatever, clear her head. Marie, where are you? Where were you at? What were you doing? Like, damn, can she breathe for a second? She can't walk for a minute. She can't mind her business for a second without you feeling like you need to be in her presence. Even though being in each other's presence is not beneficial. Yo, that moment where she was like, why didn't you cast me? And he was like, because you couldn't do it, you didn't have the drive. And she got into character. That scene was beautiful. She had him shook, had me shook. She had that knife, I was like, oh, she is fed up and we're about to see it. And then when she said, that's what authenticity buys you, Zendaya better win an award for that, that's for damn sure. Both of them need to win awards for this performance because it was just amazing. Damn near anybody who's been in any form of relationship can relate to this. I think it's relatable and it will most definitely evoke emotion. This movie 100% is a 10 out of 10, highly recommend. The movie was great, the characters were great, the dialogue was great. Alright, so I'm gonna cut this video here. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys like videos like this where I watch and give reviews on movies, let me know in the comment section down below. I'm always watching movies, so I definitely have no problem trying to analyze that shit. And if you guys like the movie Malcolm and Marie, let's talk about it. I wanna get a whole dialogue in the comments. How you guys felt about the movie, what you liked, what you didn't like, if there's anything I left out, if there's anything you agreed with, if you're in a relationship like that, if you've been in a relationship like that, if you can relate to either of the characters, and let me know in the comments. I wanna know everything you gotta say. Let's talk about it. So feel free to like, comment, and subscribe for more content from me, because I can't wait to get more content to you guys. And that is the video for today. Goodbye, guys.